Hi everyone. Today we will be doing one JavaScript interview related problem, and the problem is like flatten a deeply nested object. So in this problem, like we will be provided with one object inside which like there can be multiple objects, and inside them further there can be like primitive values or object, and arrays. Now these arrays can further have like more nested values. Also we can have key value pairs with null and undefined, and as the output we would want like every key to be concatenated, all the nested keys to be like only one level array with all the keys which are nested at one level, and corresponding value should be present. For example, in case of if we perform the flatten function over this target, we would want the id to come as id as 1, like this, like in this output. And in case of like these key value pairs, right? So for name, it would come as user not name and it would point to Sujal. Similarly for city, it will become user dot address dot city Delhi. For coordinates, so यहाँ पे it will become user dot address dot coordinates dot 0. Now this 0 is the index of this value in this array. Similarly, for this index is 1, so our key becomes user dot address dot coords dot 1. And in case of hobbies and skills, now they are empty. Now they should come as it is, but since they are inside user, so they will come as user dot hobbies user dot skills. And same goes for tags. It is an array, so we'll be using like this key as well as its index and appending it as a key. So tags dot 0 will be point to dev and tags dot 1 will point to front end. Age and meta should come as it is. So yeah, that's the like expected output. And yeah, let's try to solve this. I've already written one solution, so I'll remove that quickly and we will write this from scratch again. So I'll comment this out for now and we'll start writing it like from the starting. So let's say we'll have a function flatten that accepts an object. Right now, how we will be using it? Either we can add it to prototype chain, but for now let's keep it like this way. Yeah, or we can just add it to array dot prototype dot let's say my flatten, and like this function. So now it will be available on every array. So but let's just reverse it, keep it this way only. Now we are provided with one object, and if you observe, if the value is already a primitive, that is when we want to save it. And somehow like we need to keep a track of this path also as we travel inside the object, right? So like this object is the original one. So as we travel it, we come to this object and then we'll travel it inside, then we'll inside this, and like right here. So I need to keep a track of whatever path has found. For example, user, then I will add a dot, then add address to it, then a dot, then city. So we need to maintain this path with every recursive call. And like this, through this pattern, like we know that we need to make use of a helper function, since in the original one I will not be passing the user, the end user will not be passing anything except the object. So I'll make a helper function. Now the purpose of this function is like we'll pass the object here, it will receive a path and the result in which we will be maintaining our result. And in the original flatten function, I'll keep a res as an empty object, because the final output is the type of object only. So yeah, in this we will be storing our keep populating our answer, and then I'll make a recursive call to this helper function that we made. Will pass the original object, I'll pass the path. Originally the path is empty, because at level 1 there is no there is no parent path coming from. We will only take the key. So yeah, for res I'll pass it as it is, and then at the end we just need to return res in function helper. Here, like, we need a couple of prerequisites that I'll go through now. So some prerequisites are like this. How do you check for, like, if a variable is a array or if a variable is object? So a prerequisite is, like, if you check type of an array or an object, it will both of them will give you object, so you will not be able to distinguish. So you need for identifying array, there is like way array dot is array, and you can pass in your variable and check if it is an array. It will give you a boolean value. But with this check you can't identify if this is an array or an object. So how do you check if it something is an object? What you do is key one thing is key null. If you check type of null, right, or type of null, this will also give you object as the answer. So what we will do is we will explicitly write if something is not null, and if something is not an array and its type of comes out as an object, so that is when we are sure like it is an object only. So yeah, like this is very explicit. But if you, like, just before checking an object, if you are checking like this check you have already placed, and if your variable is failing this check, then you are already know right, that this is not an array. So in that case, if we are writing the code that way, then we can remove this check. Yeah, like we can just remove this check. And like the other would be how do you check the object's length, or how do you iterate an object? So for iterating object.entries, object.entries will provide you an array of key value pairs, like over which you can chain for each, and this will provide you a key value pair which we can like make use of. And then for checking the length, there are multiple ways. You can use this only and put a dot length after it, or you can use object dot key is object dot length. So this was some prerequisite. Basically, how do you distinguish between an object or an array, or iterate an object, or how do you check the length of object? So yeah, now coming back to the problem, we were provided with like this target, which I'm taking it like I'll put it here. So this target is with us, and now if the value is atomic, like primitive value, we'll have to save it. So I am writing this code. If my object, I need to check if it is not like I want to save the atomic value. So this object should not be an array, or an like, or null, or object. Sorry, null we have to save. So I just need to avoid these two. So object should not be an array or an object. So obj should not be an array or an object. So I can just check if type of object or type of obj is not an object, then inside this I will have all the, like, the array and object will be discarded, but with this but along with this null will also be discarded. So we will need to make one exception for null. So if object is equal to null, or, so if object is null, we want to like come inside this block, and once we are in, like we just need to store this up. So we will do res path, and we will store our like value at this point, which is obj. Since obj is primitive here, so value of obj could either be just a string or a number or a boolean, null or like other primitive values. And after saving it, since like it is not a nested thing, we will just return. Now the other check we will place, now I will check for an array. So for checking an array, I'll write array dot is array obj. So this confirms that this thing is an array. Now I want to do the same thing for arrays. So while iterating array, I want to make uses of their indices and add those indices to the existing path. So that for example, in this, target was there, and inside target tags was there, and inside tags I had to make the keys look like tags dot zero. I wanted to use its index. So what I would do is I'll iterate this array, and I will take up its index and add it to the existing keys. So the existing path is already coming right here. um, so what I'll do is यहाँ पे object is, I know like it is array, so I'll do object dot for each, and inside for each I will have value, and I will have its index for every value. This value can be like anything, a nested array in itself or a nested object. um, but inside this again, it can be primitive also. So if we would want to flatten out every entry, so we'll again make call of this helper function. So I'll take helper, I'll pass this value, and to the path, like I'll pass a new path to this thing, and I'll make a new path variable. Now path would be like, if we are just starting out, right, or let's say I'm just not making a new path, I will just go this way, right. I'll make path look like path plus like index. This is what we want to do, and I've just modified it and passing it, and for the rest I'll pass it as it is. Is there need of backtrack? We'll see. Now array is handled. Now here only object will be coming, but we'll, just in case we want to make the check explicit, we discuss one condition. So the probability of array is already ruled out. Primitive values are already like caught up here, so there is no need to check, but we can still put type of obj equal to object, and also that object is not null, because strictly, or we can like put one more not condition, but let it be. Now for object I want to iterate through all the key value pairs. So for that, object dot entries obj dot for each, and then यहाँ पे will need key value pair. For this key value pair, so we want to keep appending all the keys present here. So I'll make an path. I'll do path plus, there's one thing that I'm thinking of. If something is an array, will it be going here? Do I need to backtrack? I think we'll see later on. So in here I just need to append the key that is coming inside the object, and then I'll be calling this helper again, and this time I'll pass this value. Key value pair may, like, we'll take up the value and try to flatten that, and then I'll pass the path, and then the result as it is. There are a couple of bugs in here, but we'll discuss it later on. Now I think that's pretty much it. Now let's try to call this upon target, and let's see if this is working or not. So it is coming as id. Okay, I forgot to put dot. let me do it this way. I'll take path, I'll take do a dot, then inside this only I'll do a path, I'll do a dot. So now let me run this again. Yeah, so our output is id1, id user name, this. um there are couple of bugs. First of all, like one extra this dot is coming. Other is this hobbies and skills are not available here. Why is that? Because we were using for dot like for the very first time the path is empty, and like let's say if this is the very first entry, the very first thing, let's say this one, right? When my code runs and we'll reach this path, the atomic value, the path, we just make a res of path as this. Sorry. So if I have passed in Flatten, I have passed object, and then we have passed object to this helper. Now this object, inside helper we'll go to this else if block, because my object is a type of object. Then we'll go over this, and while doing for each, I'll make the path as using this. So initially the path is empty, so it will become dot key, that is dot id. So in here we need to put a check, like if the path is empty, then we only need to use the key as it is. So if path equal to empty, we can put it this way, then I will only use the key, else I can use it like this, and same goes for this. Yeah, it is index. Or if we want to write it cleaner way, then I have to like reverse this thing and remove this. But yeah, if the path is empty, then I only want to use the index, and it is a good practice to make it a string, because let's say the JavaScript handles the case wherein if at the very starting, inside the object there was an array, and inside array there is a nested object, then we will be using those indexes of the array, and then we'll be concatenating it with the keys of that nested object. So a case will like this come up. But if you even if you don't make it a string, then also like it will be okay. Yeah, now let's check the output. id is 1, id username, rest is fine. tags.0.1 is front end. Okay, there is one more bug that I did notice. Age and meta should not concatenate, but they are adding it up. That means I need to backtrack. So either I need to backtrack, like save this thing inside something, or I can make just new path. So every time I will be making a new path. This way I don't need to backtrack. Yeah, otherwise I will be storing this path, then making it assigning it a value, and then after performing this recursive call, assign the original value back. So this way we can save it up. Fine, that's one bug that should be resolved. Age and meta are okay. Yeah, I didn't notice that. I did use everything is everything was being added. I didn't notice that up. So now Now we have age as undefined meta as null. Now the bug that is left is hobbies and skills, which are coming as empty. um, so just we need to handle the case wherein if array is coming as empty or skills, like this object length is 0. So in the prerequisite I told you how to check length of object. If you directly check object.length, then it will be undefined. So that is why we need to make use of either this. Let's use this only. So if this dot length equal to 0, then I will do is I'll the res of path I'll make as empty object, and then I'll return it from here only. So yeah, and similarly in case of if object dot length equal to 0, then again I can do the same thing. Res of path is an empty array and I return the same. Okay, sorry. Skills is there, portfolio is not there. Sorry, skills is there, but hobbies empty is not coming. Okay, it should be outside this. So yeah, like that was the problem. And like now I'll show you a couple of edge cases. I'll unlog, like uncomment them all at once. These are different targets that I've made, so we'll see all of them at once. This is for the target that I originally showed you. Now these are coming like this. Target 1 is corresponding to this output. So in here, if you can see A0, I think target 1 is not being called. Yep, console.log flatten target 1. Now I'll run this code again. So now from this point, you see this was the original key, inside which there was a nested object, and then so it will concatenate it as a.b.c, and then the value will be 1. Similarly, in case of this, a will be the key, then 1 will be the value. For b, it will become a dot 012 dot b. Yeah, a dot 2 dot b. So yeah, for this value a dot 0, yeah, a will dot 0 will be concatenated. Same goes for like this. For null, have we placed a check for null? Yeah, our null is coming, so that is fine. Similarly, yes, this case we already handled. This is one of the edge cases, so it is coming as it is. Target 6, if we see, this is it. Like this object itself has an index of 0 in the array, so everything will be appended after 0. So 0 dot name, 0 dot games dot 0, 0 dot games dot 1 by, and 0 dot games dot 2, and this is like point to index only, 0, this and this. In case wherein we are using indices as the key, that is when, like I told, that we should be making like this index as a string itself. Although if we directly use number also, then it will work fine, but yeah, that is a like better thing to care about. So yeah, that was it, I think, for this problem. And yeah, let me know if in case, like if you have any doubt. And similarly, there is one problem of flattened deeply nested array. This is what also like you can try, but this is but this problem right here is a very good problem. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.